Now, 2 years ago today, an iconic figure emerged on the streets of Tehran. She was among thousands of Iranian people protesting their country's disputed elections. Her name was Neda, which in Farsi means voice, and she became the symbol of Iran's so-called Green Revolution. Well, her story is one that tonight's Connectors of the Day want to ensure is never forgotten, and we do warn you that some of the images that you are about to see may be disturbing to some of you. It's a death that was watched by the world. 26-year-old Neda Sultan was shot during the June 2009 demonstrations. Her death was captured on a cell phone camera and within hours posted on the internet. A moment that has become symbolic.
She started looking to the camera, looking to us. Look, I'm dying. Look, I'm dying. I was killed.
We are Neda.
Acclaimed British filmmaker Anthony Thomas has looked in his documentary For Neda. Together with undercover Iranian journalist Saeed Kamali Degan, he takes a closer look at who this young woman was and how her death became a rallying cry for freedom around the world.
Across the world.
On this, the second anniversary of her death, I asked Anthony and Saeed if they thought the voice of Neda is still resonating.
I believe it does, and it's wonderful that the film had its first showing in the United States a full year ago. Now it's showing in Britain a year later. And I hope we're contributing, but from the messages I get from Iran, I'm pretty sure that Neda is not forgotten and will not be forgotten.
Let's talk about the film. Saeed, you worked secretly in Iran to locate and film interviews with Neda's family, of course, for the first time. These people took a lot of risks, as you did. Who did you talk to?
When I went to Tehran, I interviewed almost all the family members. I interviewed her mum, I interviewed her brother, her sister, her father. So we were very lucky, so we interviewed almost everybody we intended to interview.
And of course the point was to find out who Neda was.
It really was, to change her from just being a symbol to being a living, flesh and blood human being whom we could understand, and we could understand why she chose to risk her life and go out on the streets.
So what did we learn?
Well, we learned a lot. We learned that this was, first of all, this was a young lady who had a spirit of rebellion right from the start. Also, when you meet that family, you feel that this could be a family next door to you. This is a very important mission of mine, this sense of a common humanity. People often think of, the Iranian people as 70 million crazies. Well, I mean, I want them to show that there are people like us under that deplorable regime. I wanted to express what it was like to be a woman in that society, and I wanted to tell the events that led up to that election and the protests that followed it.
What do you think the most important moments were that you learnt about Neda from her family?
I think I agree with Anthony that, well, before going to the house, I saw her as a symbol of freedom for our nation, and I was very moved when I went to the house. But what was very interesting for me was that how simple and normal and ordinary she was. As Anthony said, she was like all other thousands of Iranian girls who went to the streets, and she just wanted freedom. She wanted to read her books. She wanted to enjoy her life, to be as herself, to be like how she wanted to be. So that was what I found very interesting.
Would she have wanted to be an icon or a symbol, do you think?
I don't think she would have been. I don't think she would have been at all. She wasn't political in any way. This is the important thing. But she felt strongly about dignity for herself and for others. She didn't belong to any party or any opposition group, but she, as her father said, she told things as they are. She was straight, and she was deeply offended by the faked election and always kicking against the treatment of women in her country.
The film also looks at the ongoing struggle, of course, of women in Iran and the struggles that women face every day.
Yeah, that is, human rights in Iran is in crisis now. Because of everything that is happening in the Arab world, unfortunately, Iran has now been sidelined a bit. But this is what is happening on a daily basis, and this is the danger that the human rights crisis in Iran might be forgotten. There are women in prison now. There was a woman who died last week because she died in the funeral of her father. So this is a very daily based crisis that is happening. We managed to show the world just one example. but there are many of those in Iran.
Let me just put a couple of questions from our viewers to both of you. Jackson asks, what can the people of Iran do today, 2011, if they want regime change?
Today, if you're facing helicopters and automatic weapons and so forth, unarmed, you really don't have a chance. My experience teaches me that there's only change when the people at the top start to fragment. I'm afraid in the streets alone you're not going to create change. But don't lose courage, don't lose heart, because the more this pressure builds, the more pressure you put on the establishment there.
You say it's a very difficult situation within Iran. Of course, Iran and the Green Revolution a real inspiration to youngsters across the Middle East and North Africa.
Yeah.
Do you see Neda as a symbol outside of Iran still resonating today?
I don't know Neda specifically in the Arab world, but I do know that the Green movement has been an inspiration.
And that leads me to another question from the viewers. Carmen says, do you think a successful Green Revolution can ever happen in Iran?
Yes, I genuinely believe in change. I think it will come. We just need to have patience. It happened in Tunisia, it happened in Egypt, it will come to Iran. As Anthony said, it started somehow from Iran in 2009. And it went to the Arab world, and now it will come back to Iran again. It's just, and there has been big achievements in the past 2 years, I guess. People in Iran have become very matured with this practice of democracy, if I may call it.
If you wanted our viewers to take one thing away from your film, what would it be?
Well, I want them to feel an identity, through Neda, to feel an identity with the Iranian people. I want them to recognize how much we share with those people, and that understanding is very important to me.